What if the most satisfying meal in American history required no stove, no skill, and no more than 4 minutes? And the women who perfected it were too exhausted to care what anyone called it. Here are 4 things they never taught you in culinary school. Number 1. The average American housewife in 1973 prepared 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, on a grocery budget of $28 for a family of 4. Number 2. The open-faced sandwich was the single most reprinted recipe category in women's magazines between 1968 and 1979, appearing in over 14,000 published variations. Number 3. The Bologna Melt, a sandwich you are about to hear, was assembled by school cafeteria workers in Appalachia for under 11 cents per serving in 1971. Number 4. A retired teacher in Akron, Ohio, documented 31 years of sandwich lunches in a spiral notebook. She never repeated herself once. What you are about to hear has been sitting in your family's past the whole time. You just never knew to look for it. If this is the kind of food history nobody else is telling, hit subscribe. The countdown begins right now. Number 25. The peanut butter and pickle sandwich. 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, 3 dill pickle slices, 2 pieces of white sandwich bread. Total cost in 1974, 14 cents. You spread the peanut butter thick, all the way to the edges. You lay the pickle slices across it. They are cold. The brine hits the fat of the peanut butter, and something almost chemical happens. Salt against sweet, acid against richness. The bread compresses slightly when you press it together. It does not sound like much. It sounds like nothing, actually. But here is what it does. It wakes you up. That sharp, briny snap cuts through the peanut butter like a slap. You did not expect it. Nobody ever does the first time. This combination appears in Midwestern church cookbooks as early as 1962. Thrifty housewives in Indiana and Ohio swore by it. The pickle cost nothing. They were homemade. The peanut butter was the splurge. When you are too tired to think and too hungry to wait, this sandwich requires 0 cooking and 0 cleanup. It requires only a knife and the will to eat. Number 24. The cream cheese and olive sandwich. Softened cream cheese, sliced green olives with pimentos, soft white bread. In 1975, this cost 22 cents a sandwich. You spread the cream cheese first, cool and dense, right from the fridge if you have the patience, or straight from the block if you do not. You press the olive slices in. They sink slightly. The oil from the olives bleeds into the cream cheese just enough to carry the brine into every bite. The flavors are quiet, almost formal. The cream cheese is mild. The olive is salty and faintly bitter. Together, they taste like something that belongs on a silver tray at a party, except you are eating it alone at the kitchen table at noon. This sandwich was a staple of bridge clubs and church luncheons across the American South from the 1950s through the late 1970s. Southern Baptist women's auxiliaries served it at more funeral receptions than anyone counted. It is elegant without trying. It requires nothing from you. That is exactly the point. Number 23. The sardine and mustard sandwich. 1 tin of sardines in oil, 49 cents in 1976. Yellow mustard. 2 slices of rye bread. You drain the tin. You mash the sardines with a fork. They break down easily, soft as butter, silver gray and pungent. You spread them across the bread. The smell is oceanic, assertive, not apologetic. You lay the mustard on the other slice. The mustard is sharp and vinegary. You press the sandwich together and the oils bleed through the bread within 30 seconds. This is not a polite sandwich. It does not care what you think of it. Sardine sandwiches fed Portuguese fishermen's families in New Bedford, Massachusetts for generations. They fed Italian dock workers in Baltimore. They fed anybody who needed protein and did not have time to cook it. A single tin contained 23 grams of protein, more calcium than a glass of milk, and cost less than any other protein on the shelf. If you are eating on a fixed income and you need to think in nutrients per dollar, this sandwich remains one of the best ratios ever assembled between two slices of bread. Number 22. The tomato sandwich. 2 thick slices of tomato, salt, pepper, mayonnaise, white bread. Total cost in a summer garden, essentially free. From a store in 1978, 19 cents. You salt the tomato slices first. You let them sit for 2 minutes. The salt pulls the water out and concentrates the flavor. Then you blot them, gently, with a paper towel. The mayonnaise goes on both slices of bread, edge to edge. You lay the tomatoes down. You press gently. The bread gets wet immediately if you do not eat it fast enough. That is not a flaw. That is part of it. This is the sandwich of August in the American South. It exists because southern summers produce tomatoes faster than any family can eat them. The tomato sandwich is not a recipe. It is a seasonal obligation. It requires no cooking when it is 97 degrees outside and you have no air conditioning. It requires no thought when you are wilting. It asks nothing of you, and in return, it gives you something that tastes, briefly, like everything summer promised. Number 21. The egg salad sandwich. 3 hard-boiled eggs, 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, a pinch of salt, a pinch of pepper. Optional, 1 teaspoon of yellow mustard. Cost in 1972, 18 cents. You boil the eggs the night before because you were too tired to make them fresh. That is fine. That is the point. You peel them, chop them coarse, not fine, coarse, and fold in the mayonnaise. The mustard adds 1 layer of bite. The salt wakes the whole thing up. The smell is sulfurous and familiar. It smells like lunch. It smells like a brown paper bag on a Tuesday. Egg salad sandwiches appear in nearly every American community cookbook printed between 1955 and 1985. Church cookbooks, school fundraiser booklets, hospital volunteer recipe collections. They were everywhere because eggs were everywhere. 79 cents a dozen in 1974, one of the least expensive complete proteins on the market. 1 bowl of egg salad makes 4 sandwiches. 4 sandwiches is 3 days of lunches. That is arithmetic. That is how it worked. Number 20. The fried bologna sandwich. 1 thick slice of bologna, butter, 2 slices of white bread, yellow mustard. Cost in 1971, 11 cents. You melt butter in a cast iron pan. You slash the bologna twice across the middle. It hits the hot butter and the edges go brown within 40 seconds. The center blisters. The smell fills the kitchen. Salt and fat and something slightly smoky, slightly carnival. You flip it once. It is done in under 2 minutes. You lay it on the bread. You add the mustard. The bologna is hot. The bread is cool. The mustard cuts through the fat. Bologna was working-class protein across the American Midwest and South from the 1940s onward. In 1971, a pound of bologna cost 59 cents and contained 8 servings. School lunch programs packed it. Night shift factory workers packed it. Single mothers packed it for their kids every Monday through Friday. This is not nostalgia food. For tens of millions of Americans, this was just food. the only food that fit the budget that week. Number 19. The pimento cheese sandwich. Here is something nobody says out loud. We talk about these sandwiches like they are a curiosity, like they belong in a museum, like the people who made them were making do with something lesser than what we have now. But consider what we actually have now. Consider what we replaced them with. We replaced the 14-cent peanut butter and pickle sandwich with a $14 avocado toast that required an app to order and a 15-minute wait. We replaced the egg salad sandwich, made in 3 minutes from a dozen eggs that cost 79 cents, with a meal kit that costs $11.99 per serving and arrives in a box with 4 layers of plastic packaging. We did not upgrade, we just started paying more for the feeling of upgrading. The women who assembled these sandwiches in 1973 were not missing something we have discovered. They were doing something we have forgotten. They were feeding people on nothing, and doing it without shame, without apology, without a single Instagram caption explaining the sourcing. That is not a lesser skill. That is a more honest one. Back to the countdown. Number 18. The tuna melt. 1 can of tuna, 39 cents in 1975. Mayonnaise, 1 slice of American cheese, 2 slices of bread, toasted. You drain the tuna completely. You mix it with just enough mayonnaise to hold it together. You spread it on the toast. You lay the cheese on top. You slide it under the broiler for 90 seconds until the cheese bubbles and browns at the edges. It comes out hot and slightly crispy on the bottom, molten on top. The tuna is soft. The cheese pulls in strings when you bite it. The toast gives a clean snap. Tuna melts appear in diner menus across the American Northeast, starting in the 1960s. By 1975, they were standard in every school cafeteria that had a broiler. A can of tuna in water provided 20 grams of protein for 39 cents. No other protein came close to that ratio on a shelf in 1975. Under the broiler, 2 minutes. Sit down. You are fed. Number 17. The cucumber and butter sandwich. 1 cucumber, sliced thin. Salted butter. Soft white bread, crusts removed if you are feeling precise. Cost in 1974, 16 cents. You butter the bread first, all the way to the edges. You slice the cucumber paper thin, thin enough to see through if you hold it to the light. You lay the slices slightly overlapping. You salt them lightly. You press the top slice down and cut it in half diagonally. It is almost weightless. It is cool and clean and quiet. This sandwich belongs to British tea culture and arrived in the American Midwest through church women's auxiliaries in the early 20th century. By the 1970s, it had shed its formal origins entirely and become summer lunch food for anyone who grew cucumbers in a backyard garden. It requires no heat, no cooking. It asks for 5 minutes and a sharp knife. On a humid July afternoon, when the thought of turning on a burner feels like a punishment, this is the answer. It is cold. It is green. It will not exhaust you. Number 16. The deviled ham sandwich. 1 can of Underwood deviled ham, 49 cents in 1976. Softened butter, 2 slices of white bread. You open the can with a key you twist around the rim. The smell hits first, salty, porky, faintly spicy. The paste is pale pink and spreadable. You lay it across the bread, thick as you dare. You add the butter on the other slice. You press them together. The ham is salty and slightly smoky. The butter softens it. The bread absorbs both. Underwood deviled ham has been made continuously since 1868, making it one of the oldest branded food products in American history. Its distinctive red devil logo has appeared on cans for over 150 years. In working-class American households from the 1940s onward, it was a pantry staple, shelf-stable, requiring no refrigeration until opened, ready at any hour. If there is nothing else in the house, there is often still a can of deviled ham in the back of the cupboard. There almost always is. That is not an accident. That is the whole design. Number 15. The mayonnaise and tomato on toast. 2 slices of white bread, toasted. Full-fat mayonnaise. 2 slices of ripe tomato. Salt. 1973 cost, 12 cents. The toast must be hot when the mayonnaise hits it. That is not optional. The heat softens the mayonnaise at the edges just slightly, enough that it spreads without tearing. You salt the tomato slices before they go on. The juice runs into the mayonnaise immediately. The bread goes soft where the tomato rests on it. You do not rush this. You let it be what it is. This is a Depression-era survival sandwich that persisted through the post-war decades because it worked. It filled you. It cost almost nothing. And in the summer, when tomatoes were coming off the vine faster than any family could use them, this sandwich appeared at noon tables from Georgia to Ohio every single day. It is not glamorous. It does not aspire to be. It is lunch. It is honest. It does not pretend to be anything more than what you needed at noon on a Wednesday. Number 14. The grilled cheese. 2 slices of American cheese, 2 slices of white sandwich bread, 1 tablespoon of butter. 1972 cost, 19 cents. You butter the outside of both bread slices. You lay the cheese between them. The pan must be medium heat, not high. You place the sandwich down and press it lightly with your palm. It hisses. Within 90 seconds, the bottom is gold. You flip it carefully. The cheese is already beginning to melt at the edges. 2 minutes later, the outside is evenly browned, and the inside pulls into strings when you tear it. The American grilled cheese in its modern form emerged in the 1940s when processed American cheese became widely available and inexpensive. By the 1970s, it was the most commonly prepared hot sandwich in the United States, appearing on diner menus, school lunch trays, and home stovetops alike. It is warmth you can make in 4 minutes. When you are tired and cold, and you need something that asks nothing of you, grilled cheese has never failed anyone who made it correctly. Number 13. The Liverwurst and onion sandwich. Sliced liverwurst, 59 cents a pound in 1974. Thin sliced raw white onion. Yellow mustard. Pumpernickel bread. You lay the liverwurst slices flat. They are smooth and dense, dark pink, with a faint mineral edge. You layer the raw onion on top. The onion is sharp enough to make your eyes water slightly. You add a stripe of yellow mustard. You press the pumpernickel down. The flavors are not shy. Liverwurst is assertive, earthy, rich, faintly gamey. The onion cuts through it. The mustard sharpens both. The pumpernickel is dense and slightly sour. Liverwurst sandwiches were standard fare in German-American communities throughout the Midwest, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, St. Louis, from the late 19th century onward. By the 1970s, they had spread well beyond ethnic enclaves and appeared in lunchboxes from Pennsylvania to Minnesota. Liverwurst is also one of the most nutrient-dense sandwich fillings ever assembled between 2 slices of bread. Iron, B12, protein. For people managing fatigue on limited budgets, this was not just food. It was medicine in disguise. Number 12. The BLT. 3 strips of bacon, 2 leaves of iceberg lettuce, 2 thick slices of tomato, mayonnaise, toast. 1975 cost, 34 cents. The bacon renders in a cold pan you bring slowly to medium heat. That patience matters. It crisps evenly, not scorched, not floppy. You lift it out. You blot it. While it rests, you toast the bread. The mayonnaise goes on both slices while the toast is still warm. Then layering. Lettuce first, then tomato, then bacon. You press the top slice down. You hear the crunch before you bite it. The BLT as a named sandwich appears in American cookbooks by the 1930s. By the 1970s, it was the 3rd most ordered sandwich in American diners, trailing only the club sandwich and grilled cheese. Bacon cost 89 cents a pound in 1975. 1 pound made 12 strips. 12 strips made 4 BLTs. 4 BLTs fed a family lunch for under $1.50 total. It is one of the few sandwiches on this list that asks you to cook something. The result earns the effort every single time. Number 11. The cream cheese and jelly sandwich. Cream cheese, grape jelly, soft white bread. 1973 cost, 17 cents. You spread the cream cheese thick. The jelly goes on the other slice, just enough to spread without soaking through. The bread is soft enough to compress under your fingers when you press them together. The cream cheese is cool and dense. The jelly is sweet and faintly tart. The bread is pillowy and mild. Together, they are not complicated. They are not trying to be. This sandwich was a Depression-era substitute for peanut butter when peanut butter was too expensive or unavailable. By the 1940s, it had established its own identity, and by the 1970s, it appeared regularly in school lunchboxes across the American Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. Cream cheese cost 39 cents for an 8-ounce package in 1973. One package made 6 to 8 sandwiches. 6 to 8 sandwiches is almost a full week of lunches. For families managing on a school lunch budget, this math worked every time. It still works. Number 10. The open-faced cheese toast. 2 slices of bread. 2 slices of American or cheddar cheese. Optional, a shake of paprika. Broiled for 2 minutes. 1974 cost, 13 cents. You lay the bread on the oven rack. You lay the cheese flat across each slice. You slide them under the broiler. Within 90 seconds, the cheese begins to bubble. By 2 minutes, the edges are brown and the center is molten. You eat it hot because it does not wait. Open-faced cheese toast appears in American home economics textbooks as early as the 1920s as a model of fast, economical nutrition. By the 1970s, it had become a standard children's after-school snack and a quick supper for nights when nobody had the energy for a full meal. It asks for a broiler and 2 minutes. It asks nothing else. When you are exhausted and the idea of a full dinner feels impossible, this is not giving up. This is solving the problem with the materials available. That is a skill. That has always been a skill. In 1974, a can of tuna cost 29 cents. This sandwich cost less than 50 cents total and delivered more protein per dollar than almost anything else on a 1970s grocery shelf. You drain the tuna completely. You chop the celery fine so every bite has crunch without dominating. You add just enough mayonnaise to bind it, not so much that it becomes wet. You spread it on toast while the toast is still hot so the edges crisp against the filling. The celery snaps. The tuna is dense and savory. The toast crackles when you press it. Tuna salad sandwiches became American pantry staples during World War II rationing and never fully left. They appeared in community cookbooks from Maine to California throughout the 1960s and 1970s, always described in the same language: simple, nourishing, practical. One can of tuna, one sandwich, one meal handled. That is all this needs to be. Cottage cheese and cucumber. Whole wheat bread, cottage cheese, thinly sliced cucumber, salt. In 1976, a container of cottage cheese cost 59 cents. This sandwich was a staple of the diet culture that swept American women's magazines in the early 1970s. But it survived because it actually worked. You spread the cottage cheese directly on the bread. The cucumber goes on in overlapping thin slices. Salt goes on the cucumber before the top slice of bread, so it draws out just enough moisture to soften the cucumber slightly. The result is cool, dense, and filling in a quiet way. This sandwich appeared in Weight Watchers handouts, church diet circles, and women's magazine recipe columns throughout the 1970s. It was the food of women trying to take care of themselves while taking care of everyone else, often with limited money and zero time. It costs less than $1. It requires no heat. It is done in 90 seconds. Sardine and onion on toast. Toast, canned sardines in oil, thinly sliced white onion, a squeeze of lemon if you have it. In 1974, a tin of sardines cost 29 cents. This was the fisherman's sandwich, the dock worker's sandwich, the lunch of people who needed protein and did not have time to argue about it. You drain the sardines partially, not completely, because the oil is part of the flavor. You lay them on the toast and press gently. The onion goes on in thin half rings. The lemon, if it exists in your kitchen, goes on last. The sardine is rich and oceanic. The onion is sharp and alive. The toast holds everything together with a structural crunch. Sardine sandwiches were common across Scandinavian American and Portuguese American communities throughout New England in the mid-20th century. They were carried in lunch pails to canneries, docks, and processing plants by workers who earned very little and needed to keep going. High protein, long shelf life, no cooking required. This is engineering.